Hey, good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. We're coming in hot this morning, so I hope everybody is well and good. Sharon Landry, good morning to you. Donna, glad you're here. Kristen, good morning, good morning. Oh, you're not feeling well? I hope you're doing all right. Hoping you're doing better. Hey, Jane, glad you're here. Karen, good morning to you. Glad you're here. Kristen, I hope you feel better. That's awful. Cecile, good morning to you. Oh, Vicky, day 3 of stomach virus. Oh, poor honey. So, good morning, everybody. Yeah, I just walked up from we had our interfaith council meeting here with our Episcopal friends and our Baptist friends and all manner in between. So, I was just running up from that. So glad to make it here with all of you. Um, so, hope you're doing well this morning. It is, by the way, this morning, it is our friend Sharon who is here. Good morning, Sharon. It is her birthday. And so, as is our tradition, if I find out it's your birthday and you are here with us, I will sing you happy birthday. And so, we're going to begin this morning with a little birthday song for Sharon. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sharon. Happy birthday to you. Somewhere in there. This is your own personal arrangement. So, hope you have a great day, Sharon. And that each one of us are with you in all the joy that you experienced today and all the goodness, which I hope it is joyful, and I hope that it is good that you have the chance to soak in some of that sweetness, because know that you will be with us as well. Jane, worth the price of admission. Oh gosh, yeah. Good luck. So, um, oh, sorry, Karen. What happened? So. Um, Hope you. All right. Good morning, everybody. It is the uh, 8th day of June. It is the 8th day of June, and here on this Wednesday at 11:11. And I'm glad you're with us, and you're glad you're here. Um, I just want to we did a little deep dive on scripture yesterday. Today, I just want to rant a little bit. Okay, can I rant? Like, we're all friends, right? Can I just offer you some thoughts of kind of stuff that's going around in my head? Maybe you've heard some of them before, but I really part of it's just it was all reinforced by, this was kind of my thinking, but it was been reinforced with just coming from my little group of fellow clergy folks down at the First Baptist Church, and all of our folks here who are working in ministry in the city, and the challenges that brings, and the challenges that these days have brought, um, and it's this kind of the invitation to the religious life. Now, people it's my opinion that a kind of a great kind of a job has been done upon the idea of being of what it is to accept a religious stance in this world these days. That there's plenty of people who will tell me that's just another dogma. They're just trying to take your freedom. They're just trying to get their hand in your purse and in your bank account. That all of these incredible negative stereotypes that you find. In fact, we have a game that we play at home that and maybe maybe you can play it too. But it's, if we're watching a show on television, what we'll do is and a clergy person or religious person that comes identified, a character like that comes onto the show. We have a bet. We have to do it right away. We have a bet about what will be the major malfunction of that character. That you can almost always be assured these days that character will not be will not necessarily be a force for good or for helpfulness, but there'll be kind of one of three things, as we've identified, that kind of there's one of three tropes that kind of come up in the media of today. And I challenge you, if you all know one that isn't true of, I'm more than happy to entertain that, because that's kind of fun. But even the best of them are kind of fall into, I think, one of these three tropes. One is that they're ineffectual. They're kind of the bumbling, woolly-headed clergy person, and who just can't seem to get anything right, and can't get they're disengaged from the people around them and from the life around them, and they maybe stuck in kind of big ideas or something, and so but they're just feckless. They just don't have any interest and ability. The second is that they tend to have this way that they tend to be, kind of charlatans. They tend to be, they'll be, they won't be what they seem in terms of what's going on. They'll be kind of self-centered or self-righteous or just judgmental and exclusionary to a fault. They'll make sure that they get theirs and that nobody else gets theirs. And so there you get this kind of feckless character who can't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. You get this self-centered character that ends up is kind of just kind of sitting in the seat of judgment. And then you get kind of course, the abuser character, which is just going to be some sort of horrible aberration going on. They're going to be the murderer, or they're going to be the abuser, or they're going to be the bad one. I'm telling you, I'm grinning about this because I'm not asking the world to be other than it is, and I'm not saying that things are other than they are. But what I am suggesting is that these kind of media tropes, which are not new, like, I mean, and again, these media tropes exist because there are in fact folks for whom those are real. That I would never say there are not folks that in the religious life that are not that have not been abusive. You can't stand in Fall River and say that. There are not folks that kind of got into the racket for all the wrong reasons and are there to get theirs. And you certainly are folks that are feckless. There's folks that have all of those. I'm not saying the tropes are untrue, but I am saying there are other. That is not the whole and the completeness of the folks that you find in clergy. Like, I certainly hope that I am none of those tropes. And if I find myself in any of those tropes, I truly try to repent. And all of my colleagues that I was down the street with just moments ago, and we sat around the table having an hour-long discussion about housing in Fall River and how we're contending with every day, if not every day, at least certainly multiple times a week, with folks who are, at best, they're housing insecure. Sometimes we're dealing with folks that are literally on the street and helping them get off the street. We're dealing with people that the rising housing prices and all those things, and the way that we're all aware that it's going to get worse before it gets better, and nobody really having any answers to that, but being willing to stand in the discomfort of it. None of them doing it because of their own self-aggrandizement so that they can look good in the paper. None of them doing it because they really want to just be some sort of monster and lock somebody in the basement in some sort of abusive relationship, and none of them doing it because they feel like they can't make a difference in this world, but all of them trying desperately to do so. I'm totally, that the tropes that we find in media these days around clergy and that, just so fly, and the religious. I'm not just saying clergy. I'm saying clergy because I am one and I can speak to that. But I think it's a conversation I've had with many of you in our church and over the years about how people look at you. Here in I know this is not true in other regions of the country and other parts of the world, but here in Massachusetts, where we are 48th or 47th, I think, in the country, and all of New England vies for is 40. Maine, I think, is 50th, or Rhode Island is like 49th. But all of these are right at the bottom for church attendance and church affiliation. So that when when we all gather on a Sunday morning, we're doing something radically countercultural. And so that it's not a surprise that the wider culture and the tropes of the wider culture would take up the negative assumptions. That's not. And again, I'm not just like poor us. I'm not whining about this. Do not hear this as whining. If you hear it as whining, go back and listen to what I just said. Do not hear this as whining. Now you've heard it three times. All right, like that. Really, we're not. I'm not complaining about this. What I am is illuminating it, because what I believe is that actually the religious life, this life of affiliation with a tradition, affiliation with a group of worshiping people, having a group of pilgrims with whom to go through this life with whom you will struggle, with whom you will not always agree, with whom you will find difficulty, and it is actually one of the greatest gifts of our life. And it's a gift, because it's one of the few avenues in our world. That allows us and that permits us and it gives us the opportunity to escape our own tropes, our own ego, if you want to put it that way, just to escape our own wants and desires. The problem of a spiritual life outside of a connection to a community, outside of a connection to a religious life, is that it is nearly impossible to not have it turn into an ego project. To not, and what I mean is to not make God in your own image. Well, I don't like those things, so God doesn't like those things too. And that doesn't make you a bad person. That just makes you a person. And that what community does for us, even when we crash into people whom we love and we believe in and we are journeying with, even in those moments, what we find in it is that even when we're singing hymns off key, even when we're listening to a drony sermon, even when we're encountering things not at their peak and not at their most beautiful and not at their most entertaining or not even their smartest, but when we are giving ourselves over to a practice, what we're doing is we're saying we are willing to be guided by forces, by a God larger than us. And that's so true. And this is the thing about truth, is we think that the things that are most true in this life are things that we can't think about, but we can only, in a complete way. We can think about them, obviously. We can think about most anything, but we can't think about them in a complete way. And we can't even experience them in a complete way in terms of like a felt heart thing. What we end up doing is we have to live them out. We have to live both our head and our best understanding. We have to live our heart and our big fat love that we have for the world, or a big fat hate maybe sometimes. And we have to, and our actions in it, we have to live our whole selves, our whole being, and our whole selves have to step into this thing. And in stepping into it, we can be changed. We can be transformed. We can be made new, which we can't do when we just think about stuff on our own or feel stuff in our hearts or even just act in a particular way, because we'll always go to what we want or what we prefer or how we want things, I mean, the great conversation is always, and I know I've said this to you before, but it bears repeating, that people say, oh, well, I find God on the golf course, or I find God on the beach, or I find God in nature. And it's like, dear Lord, if you can't find God in a sunrise, and if you can't find the majesty of creation in the beauty of the liminal space of a beach and the ocean and all that's crashing around and all of creation, if you can't find God in the beauty of a manicured creation and all of the verdancy that brings, you can't find God there, go have your pulse checked. Because it's not about finding God. God's not lost. God's not at bay. God's not working somewhere out there. God is right in our face. God is present with us all the time. It's us that are hiding. It's us that are trying to put our Facebook face on and just make sure everybody sees all the happy things and don't you worry about me. I'll be everything's great. Hey, I got it all together. I'm like it's us that are doing this tap dance. Like, don't worry, everything's great. I'm good. Like, and even when we're at our most honest and our most vulnerable, even that is just an incomplete part of it. We're the one hiding. God's not hiding. You can't find it. It has nothing to do with finding God. All it has to do is permitting God to find you. And that means you have to be willing to submit yourself to a tradition and to a discipline and to other people who have opinions that are different than yours, who think differently, who believe differently, even though they say they're Christians or whatever that means, and that may have a different vision for your church than you, that may not think that your word is in fact law. I know I'm being snarky, and I know I'm being, because I'm kind of fired up about this, but I really want us to hear it, that there's a deep and complete reality that we ignore when we kind of do our own thing. And the world has been brilliant at putting us in our do our own thing kind of category. And again, it's not to take our individualism away. It's quite the opposite. It's actually to magnify it. It's actually to make it better, because you are not who you are. You are who Christ made you to be. And that you don't have the plans for that. You don't have the model for that. You don't know what you're capable of. You don't know who you could be on your best day. You don't know who you could be on your worst day. That all of that is encapsulated the mystery of walking this life out with people other than ourselves. And so my invitation for you today is be a part of your religious life. Be a part of the worshiping church, wherever you find it, wherever you are. Be a part of your own deep and loving grace that can bring you into meaning that is not meaning that you're making up, or is not meaning that is just aligned with your preferences. Because I think, and as I started this, that, all of these tropes that we find about kind of religious people in media these days, those tropes have in them, and a part of them, maybe they have some truth, but they also don't have the wider truth of that many more people are actually on this pilgrimage and in this effort to build the holy city, to find a new Jerusalem, to work on the kingdom of God that Jesus spoke so much about, into building it right here and right now. Baron Wolf wrote a book in 1931 called How to Be Happy Though Human, which is just a great title. And so I wanted to quote it for you today. He writes this: if we want to know what happiness is, we must seek it, not as if it were a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but among human beings who are living richly and fully the good life. If you observe a really happy person, you will find them building a boat, writing a symphony, educating their son, growing double dahlias in his garden. They will not be searching for happiness as if it were a collar button that is rolled under the radiator. He will have become aware that he is happy in the course of living 24 crowded hours of the day. To find happiness, we must seek for it in a focus outside of ourselves. No one has learned the meaning of living until he has surrendered his ego to the service of his fellow men. It's my contention and my invitation that I think the local church, wherever your locality is, wherever, I'm a little biased. I like the 1 to 282 Rock Street. Hope you know that. But wherever you find it, that this human community, this grouping where we may pursue happiness with other people pursuing happiness, not for happiness' sake, but for the surrendering of our own ego and for the service of our fellow men. That we find in the beauty of creation, and that we find in the beauty of the way we are made, and that we find in the escaping of our own psychoses and our own neuroses. I know you can say, like, oh, I have no psychoses and no neuroses. Well, maybe, but we all want to hold on a little too much, or we all want to let go a little too much. That doesn't make us bad people, just makes us people. But to find the happiness, we must seek for it in a focus outside of ourselves. And it's my contention that I think the religious life is one of the most beautiful and powerful places to discover it. All right, friends, that's my hope for you today. Rant over. I hope you will be a part of this great day and enjoy the beauty of it wherever you may be. Kristen, I hope you feel better. Vicky, I hope you feel better. Is there anybody else here we should be praying for? Please let us know. I'll be lifting you up today and holding you dear. Donna, I hope you had a great visit with your mom and that things are good with her. Lots of love to you all. And peace and grace. We'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11.